"You're going to have sex with us," said the three giant women already living on the farm. He bought the shuttle landed slowly on the wide red plains, kicking up dust that moved like waves across the empty land. From above, the farm looked abandoned. Long metal fences stretched across rolling hills, and an old farmhouse stood alone under a pale sky. The sun here was larger than Earth's, glowing orange and warm, painting everything with a soft light. The man stepped down from the shuttle and adjusted his hat against the wind. He moved like someone used to open spaces. His boots hit the ground with quiet confidence. He had traveled far to reach this place, farther than most humans ever would. The frontier world was called Vesta 9. It was a planet where cowboys rode hover steeds instead of horses and carried plasma tools instead of old revolvers. Still, the spirit of the frontier remained the same: hard work, isolation, and freedom. He looked at the farmhouse again. It was bigger than he expected. The structure mixed wood and alien metal, its walls curved in strange ways that didn't match human design. Solar panels covered the roof, though many were broken. The windmill nearby creaked slowly, turning without purpose. "This is home now," he muttered quietly. He had bought the farm cheap. Too cheap, some would say. The listing had been simple: abandoned agricultural land, fertile soil, self-sustaining systems partially functional. No one else wanted it. That alone should have warned him, but he needed a fresh start. He walked toward the house, scanning the area carefully. Years of traveling alone had taught him to notice everything: footprints, broken wires, shadows that moved wrong. At first, nothing seemed strange, just empty land and silence. Then he saw the footprints. They were large. Much larger than human boots. Deep marks pressed into the soil near the doorway. He stopped. Someone was here. Slowly, he placed his hand near the tool hanging at his belt. It wasn't a weapon exactly, but it could be used as one if needed. The door to the farmhouse was slightly open. The wind pushed it gently, making it creak. He stepped forward cautiously and pushed the door wider. Inside, the room was clean. That surprised him more than anything else. The furniture was simple but arranged neatly. A table stood near the window. Tools were organized along the wall. Someone had been living here recently. A shadow moved behind him. He turned quickly. Three figures stood in the doorway. They were tall. No giant. Each of them stood nearly twice his height. Their bodies were strong, built for heavy work. Their skin had a soft silver tone that reflected the sunlight. Long hair flowed behind them, moving slightly even without wind, as if responding to invisible energy. Their eyes watched him carefully. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The cowboy lifted his hands slightly, showing he meant no harm. "I bought this place," he said calmly. "Name's not important, I'm just the new owner." The tallest of the three stepped forward. Her voice was deep but steady. "You purchased the farm?" "Yes." The three women exchanged glances. Another one spoke, her tone curious rather than hostile. "Humans acquire land through trade, that is acceptable." "Well," he said carefully, "I didn't know anyone was still living here." "We are caretakers," the first woman replied. Her words were direct, almost blunt. She walked around him slowly, studying him like he was something unusual. He felt small under her gaze, not just because of her size, but because of her presence. She radiated strength. "This land was abandoned," he said. "That's what the records showed." "The previous owners left," she answered. "We did not." Awkward silence filled the room. He scratched the back of his neck. "So, guess we need to figure out how this works." The third woman suddenly stepped closer, leaning down slightly to meet his eyes. "You are human," she said. "That obvious?" "Yes," she tilted her head, curious. "We studied human bonding rituals," she continued seriously. "You create trust through physical closeness." He blinked. "Us sometimes?" The three women nodded together like they had confirmed something important. "You will live with us," the tallest said. "Shared territory requires bonding." The statement was so direct that he almost laughed, thinking it was a joke. But their faces remained serious. "I think," he said slowly, choosing his words carefully, "there might be some misunderstanding." They looked confused. He sighed softly. This was going to be complicated. Over the next hour, they talked. The cowboy learned their species had been assigned as guardians of the agricultural system buried beneath the farm. Long ago, an advanced civilization created living farmland capable of healing damaged ecosystems. The guardians protected it from misuse. Humans rarely came this far into space, so they had studied human culture only through old data files, which explained a lot. "You do not engage in bonding rituals immediately?" one asked, clearly puzzled. Not like that, he said gently. Trust takes time. They exchanged another look. Your customs are inefficient, one muttered. He chuckled despite himself. Outside, the wind picked up. Dust moved across the land like flowing water. He stepped onto the porch and looked out across the farm again. This place was stranger than he imagined, and maybe more alive. That night, strange lights flickered beneath the soil. Machines hidden underground activated slowly, responding to his arrival. He watched from the window as faint blue lines traced across the fields like veins. Behind him, the giant women spoke quietly among themselves. One thing was certain, he had not bought an empty farm. He had stepped into something much bigger. And somehow, he felt that this unexpected beginning might finally give him the purpose he had been searching for. The frontier was never simple, but maybe that was why he belonged here. Morning came slowly over the red plains of Vesta 9. The large sun rose behind distant hills, spreading warm orange light across the farm. Wind moved through tall alien grass, creating soft waves that stretched toward the horizon. The cowboy stood outside the farmhouse, holding a metal cup filled with strong coffee. He watched the land carefully, still trying to understand the strange place he had bought. Behind him, heavy footsteps approached. One of the giant women stepped onto the porch. She moved quietly despite her size. Her long silver hair reflected the sunlight as she looked toward the fields. The underground systems awakened last night, she said calmly. I noticed, he replied. That normal. They respond to new ownership, she explained, or to significant changes. He nodded slowly. Everything here felt alive, not just plants or machines, but the entire land itself. What exactly does this farm grow? He asked. She hesitated for a moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. It restores balance, she finally said. Soil, water, ecosystems, the crops created here can heal damaged worlds. He raised an eyebrow. That sounds like something a lot of people would want. Yes, she said quietly, that is why we protect it. Before he could ask more, a distant engine sound echoed across the plains. Both of them turned toward the horizon. A small hover vehicle approached quickly, kicking up dust behind it. Visitors? He asked. Unlikely to be friendly, she answered. The vehicle stopped near the front gate. Two settlers stepped out, wearing worn jackets and carrying tools. They waved cautiously as they approached the farmhouse. The cowboy walked forward to meet them. Morning, one of them called. You the new owner? That's right. The settlers exchanged looks. You heard the stories about this place? The other asked. He shrugged. Only that it was cheap. That should have told you enough, the first man said with a nervous laugh. People say machines move at night. Lights under the ground. Some say giants live here. The cowboy glanced behind him briefly. Well, he said calmly, the farm seems fine so far. The settlers leaned closer. Just be careful, one whispered. There are groups looking for old alien tech. Raiders, corporations, anyone with enough credits. They come quiet, but they don't leave without taking something. The warning stayed in his mind long after they left. That afternoon, he walked the fields with the three giant women. They showed him areas where the soil glowed faintly beneath the surface. Small devices rose from the ground like metal flowers, scanning and adjusting the environment automatically. You've been maintaining this alone? He asked. We were created for this purpose, one answered simply. He noticed how direct they were, how literal their thinking seemed. They spoke without hiding emotion or intention. You mentioned bonding yesterday, he said carefully. I think we should talk more about human boundaries. They listened closely as he explained concepts of personal space, trust, and friendship. At first, they seemed confused, but slowly they began to understand. You require emotional connection before physical closeness, one summarized. Something like that, he said with a smile. The lesson felt important, not just for avoiding misunderstandings, but for building real trust between them. As evening approached, the wind changed direction. The cowboy felt it immediately, a shift that signaled trouble. He walked to the edge of the property and saw faint movement far away, vehicles, more than one. They came faster than expected, one of the giant women said behind him. You know who they are? Scavengers, she answered. They test defenses before attacking. The cowboy adjusted his hat and took a slow breath. Guess my quiet farm life just ended. He returned to the house quickly, checking old equipment left by previous owners. A plasma cutter became a makeshift defense tool. Energy fences were partially active but weak. The giant women moved with calm precision, activating hidden systems beneath the ground. Blue lights spread across the fields again, forming invisible barriers. The approaching vehicles slowed as they reached the outer boundary. Figures stepped out, watching carefully. For a long moment, neither side moved. Then one of the raiders raised a scanner. The cowboy stepped forward alone, standing in front of the farmhouse. The wind pulled at his coat as he faced them calmly. "This land's already taken," he called out. The raiders hesitated. Behind him, the giant women stood silently, their presence powerful and unmistakable. The scanner beeped loudly. "Too much security," one raider muttered. After a tense pause, the vehicles turned away slowly, disappearing back into the plains. The cowboy released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "That won't be the last time," he said quietly. "No," one of the women agreed, "but you did not retreat." He looked at the farm again, at the glowing soil, the old house, the strange guardians who now stood beside him. "For once," he said softly, "I think I'm done running." Night fell again over Vesta 9. Lights beneath the soil shone brighter than before, as if the farm itself recognized a new protector. And somewhere far away, others were already planning their next move. The nights on Vesta 9 felt longer after the raiders came. Even when the sky looked calm and full of distant stars, the cowboy sensed change in the air. The farm no longer felt hidden. Somewhere out there, people now knew this land was active again. He stood near the fence line early in the morning, watching sunlight slowly spread across the plains. The soil beneath his boots hummed softly. Blue lights moved under the ground like slow rivers. Behind him, the three giant women approached quietly. "You did not sleep," one of them said. He shrugged slightly. "Old habits, hard to relax when trouble might come back." They understood that. Their species had been created as guardians. Rest was secondary to duty. Still, something about their expressions had changed since he arrived. They were less rigid now, less like machines following orders. They watched him not just as a leader, but as a partner. "The farm responds to you," another said. He looked down at the glowing soil. "Feels more like it's testing me," she nodded slowly. "It observes behavior, it adapts." That idea made him uneasy. Later that day, they explored deeper into the farmland. One of the giant women opened a hidden panel buried beneath thick grass. A platform rose silently from the ground, revealing an underground chamber. Cool air flowed upward. "This is part of the original system," she explained. They descended together. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light. Rows of plants grew inside transparent containers, each one different. Some looked familiar, while others moved slowly like living creatures. He stopped in front of one container where a small green plant released golden dust into the air. "What does that one do?" "It repairs damaged soil ecosystems," she said. "One seed can restore a desert over time." He let out a low whistle. "No wonder people want this place." As they walked deeper, they found a central console still partially active. Symbols flickered across the screen. The system seemed to recognize their presence. Suddenly, a soft tone echoed through the chamber. The console projected a map into the air. Red markers appeared across nearby territories. The cowboy frowned. "Those don't look friendly." "They are scanning signals," one of the women said. "Multiple groups searching." His jaw tightened. The raiders had only been the beginning. They returned to the surface quickly. The sky felt heavier now, clouds gathering slowly as if the planet itself sensed danger. That afternoon, he began strengthening defenses around the farmhouse. He repaired energy fences, adjusted old equipment, and even modified farming tools into defensive devices. The giant women worked beside him without hesitation. At one point, one of them paused and watched him carefully. "You choose to stay," she said, "even when risk increases." He leaned against the fence, wiping dust from his hands. "I've spent most of my life leaving," he admitted. "Every time things got complicated, I moved on." "New planet, new job, same story." She listened silently. "But this place," he continued, looking toward the glowing fields, "feels different." "Because of the farm?" she asked. He shook his head slowly. "Because of the people here." For a moment, none of them spoke. The wind moved gently through the fields, carrying the scent of growing crops. Later that evening, another signal appeared on the farm's scanners. Not raiders this time. A large ship entered orbit. Its shape was sleek and sharp, clearly belonging to a powerful organization. "Corporate vessel," one of the giant women said. The cowboy felt a cold weight settle in his chest. Corporations did not come without reason, and they rarely accepted refusal. A message arrived soon after. A calm voice filled the air. This property contains advanced technology belonging to protected historical assets. You are requested to allow inspection and transfer of ownership. He laughed quietly at that. Requested, he repeated. That's one way to say it. What is your decision? One asked. He looked at each of them carefully. We stand our ground, he said. The message system activated again, waiting for a response. He stepped forward. This is private land, he said firmly. No transfer, no inspection, turn your ship around. Silence followed. Then the connection ended. The sky darkened earlier than usual that night. Storm clouds gathered, heavy and deep. The farm systems activated automatically, blue energy lines spreading across the fields like protective veins. The giant women stood beside him as they watched the distant lights of the corporate ship. They will not leave easily, one said. Neither will I, he replied. For the first time since arriving, he felt completely certain. This was no longer just a farm he bought for a new beginning. It was a home worth fighting for, and whatever came next, they would face it together. The storm arrived before sunrise. Dark clouds covered the sky above Vesta 9, turning the red plains into a shadowed ocean of moving grass. Lightning flashed far away, silent at first, like warning signals sent across the horizon. The cowboy stood on the porch of the farmhouse, watching the corporate ship hovering high above. It looked calm and controlled, but he knew better. Ships like that never came without a plan. Behind him, the three giant women prepared quietly. They moved through the farm, activating hidden systems buried beneath the soil. Blue lines of energy spread outward, connecting fields, fences, and underground machines. The farm is ready, one of them said. He nodded slowly. I hope that's enough. A signal came through moments later. The same calm voice returned, smooth and confident. Final request, the voice said. Transfer ownership and step aside. Resistance will result in removal. The cowboy adjusted his hat and looked up at the sky. No, he replied simply. Silence followed. Then the ship moved. 3 smaller dropships detached from the main vessel and descended quickly toward the farm. Their engines burned bright against the dark clouds. They are coming, one of the giant women said. He walked forward into the open field instead of hiding. The wind pushed against his coat as the dropships landed beyond the outer fence. Figures stepped out, armored agents carrying scanning equipment and advanced weapons. They moved carefully, clearly expecting resistance. The cowboy stood alone in front of the farmhouse. The giant women waited behind him, calm and strong. One agent approached. This property contains technology classified under interstellar regulation, the agent said. You are not authorized to control it. The cowboy crossed his arms. Funny, he said, because I paid for it. The agent ignored the joke. You cannot protect this land. Our organization can ensure its proper use. He shook his head. That's not protection, that's ownership. The agent paused, studying him. You misunderstand. Progress requires control. And control usually means someone else loses their home, the cowboy replied quietly. Behind him, the ground began to glow brighter. The farm was waking fully. Energy moved beneath the soil, responding to the tension in the air. The agents noticed too. Their scanners beeped rapidly. Systems activating, one of them said. Without warning, the farm reacted. Energy barriers rose from the ground like invisible walls surrounding the fields. Small machines emerged from hidden compartments, hovering gently as if ready to defend the land. The cowboy didn't move. He simply stood there, calm and steady. The giant women stepped forward beside him. Their presence alone made the agents hesitate. You are not informed of guardians, one agent whispered. We are the protectors, the tallest woman said firmly. Lightning flashed again above them, illuminating the scene like a dramatic painting. Cowboy, guardians, and corporate forces facing each other across open land. The agent leader raised a hand. We do not wish for conflict. Then leave, the cowboy said. Another long silence followed. Finally, the agents activated a small device. A hologram appeared showing data about the farm, crop capabilities, restoration potential, economic value. This technology could save entire planets, the agent argued. It must be shared. The cowboy listened carefully. He understood their point. The farm could help many worlds, but he also knew what happened when powerful groups took control without understanding responsibility. You want to use it, he said slowly, but you don't want to respect the people protecting it. The giant women watched him, surprised by his calm strength. He continued, "This farm doesn't belong to one species or one company. It belongs to the balance it creates." The wind grew stronger. The farm systems pulsed again, reacting to his words as if they mattered. One of the agents lowered their weapons slightly. "What do you propose?" they asked. The cowboy thought for a moment. "Partnership," he said. "No ownership transfer. The farm stays protected here, but its crops can be shared under fair agreement with guardians supervising." The agents exchanged looks. It was not the answer they expected. Above them, the corporate ship remained still. Finally, the leader nodded slowly. "This may be acceptable." Tension faded slowly from the air. The energy barriers lowered slightly, no longer aggressive but still present. The storm began to pass, clouds opening to reveal warm sunlight breaking through. The cowboy released a quiet breath. Behind him, one of the giant women spoke softly. "You chose cooperation instead of conflict." "That's usually harder," he said with a small smile. The agents returned to their ships soon after, leaving behind only dust and fading engine noise. The farm grew quiet again. For the first time since arriving, the cowboy felt peace settle into his chest. He walked back toward the farmhouse with the three guardians beside him. "You changed our understanding of humans," one of them said. "And you changed mine about not staying in one place," he replied. They stood together watching the fields glow softly in the sunlight. The farm no longer felt abandoned. It felt alive, not just because of ancient machines or powerful crops, but because of the strange family forming there, built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. The frontier had given him more than land. It had given him a reason to stay. And as the wind moved gently through the growing fields, the cowboy knew this was only the beginning of a new legend on Vesta 9.